following is a presentation of the National Hockey League on Sportsnet.
Hockey is back. What a happy sight. They've rolled out the red carpet for Brady Tkachuk, Claude Giroux, and an experienced Senators lineup as they host the first Battle of Ontario of the preseason against the Toronto Maple Leafs. New season, clean slate, and as Nick Robertson knows, this time of year you do whatever you have to get recognized.
Felt like a summer day in Toronto. It's a sure sign that the regular season for the boys of winter isn't far away.
A new season is upon us. It's good to be back. NHL preseason brought to you by Bet99. Download the Bet99 app now. And welcome back, everyone. Elliot Friedman, Nick Caprios, Justin Bourne, and Carolyn Cameron. Look at everyone looking rested.
Welcome back to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excited to have you back this year.
I was gone a while on maternity leave, so let's hope I can remember how to do this. So we're all excited for a new season. Toronto Maple Leafs, they left a lot of their regulars at home in Toronto, but that means it's opportunity for many players to showcase their skills this afternoon. Who's your eye on, Elliot?
Well, you look at the lineups, you'd say 12-0 Ottawa today, right? So in Toronto, who can be noticed? And these are the two guys. These are two UFAs that Toronto had to get away from other teams. Luke Hames, Tampa, they were hard after him. Jacob Quillen, Boston, they were hard after him. Chris Bork was the Maple Leaf scout who worked on getting both those players. And they both were convinced that the development plan that Toronto set out for them and the opportunities that Toronto had for them would be better than elsewhere. So here you are, you're against a lopsided roster, Ottawa on paper, much, much better. What can you do to be seen?
As far as a veteran presence for the Toronto Maple Leafs, maybe it's Nick Robertson with his 156 career games in the National Hockey League. He'll play on the top line this afternoon with David Kampf. Easton Cowan will get a good look, but hard to believe all those trade rumors last year, time in, time over and over again, yet he's still a Toronto Maple Leafs. He's got a new contract at $1.8 million, which isn't exactly cheap, but he's a guy that scored 15 goals last year, 14 the year before. There is value in him. As far as maybe the future, I want everybody to keep an eye on Landon Sim here. He falls under the tutelage of Mark and Dale Hunter out of the London Knights. This guy's not the biggest, he's not the heaviest, but this guy competes hard and plays with a bit of a chip on his shoulder, which we know the Leafs need.
Yeah, and another guy looking to do some of that is Michael Pezzetta. That's his case here. His job this year is different than a lot of these guys who often you have two guys competing for one spot. They're similar players. Pezzetta's job is to make the case that you don't need either of those guys. You need someone who does something totally different, someone who can bring the physicality. You mentioned Robertson's played games in the league. Pezzetta's got 200 under his belt, 27 years old, and signed a 2-year deal. So I look at this lineup. There's a lot of NHL forwards on the Toronto Maple Leafs roster. Kampf and Yarncroc and all these different guys that are in there today. But Pezzetta's job is to say that, hey, you don't need that. You need something totally different on the fourth line. Little energy, a little bit of punchiness, if you will.
I don't know what you two think, but I think the show was already so much better than last year, and I only see one change.
DA, see ya. CCN.
I have no comment. He better not be at home watching football, I'll tell you that much. Okay, so the Ottawa Senators, as Elliot and everyone mentioned, a very strong lineup and one that looks a lot like the team that ended that 8-year playoff drought last season. Let's get you to the rink then in our nation's capital. The call will be Chris Cuthbert and Gary Galley, but we begin with Sean McKenzie.
Carolyn, it's been nearly 5 months since the Battle of Ontario was given a shot in the arm with that first-round playoff matchup. This afternoon's game, well, likely won't have that same level of intensity, but you never know because we've seen plenty of it, intensity that is, especially out of Maple Leafs camp. Craig Berube continues to preach that he wants that level of intensity, like Phil Myers and Austin Matthews going toe-to-toe, exchanging a few shots. Myers is in the lineup here today. So are Landon Sim and Easton Cowan, London Knights teammates who on day one of camp reacquainted themselves with each other. Cowan likely the most exciting name in what is a primarily American Hockey League Leafs roster. The Sens, though, will ice some of their big names, including Brady Tkachuk, who always brings a level of intensity. In fact, he's mentioned before that before games, he psychs himself up by imagining himself becoming an animal. And this summer, he was on the Locked On Sens podcast and was asked what animal he envisions himself becoming.
I know this is a crazy answer, but either a lion or just like a nice stallion. Just the 7-horse. The 7-horse is humming today.
Yes, the 7-horse will be coming out of the gate hot this season after getting his first taste of playoff hockey. The preseason is among us. It's the Battle of Ontario. Let's get you set with the national anthems. Enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise if you are able and remove your hats as Rachel Jewell performs O Canada. Mesdames et messieurs, retirez chapeau et casquette pour l'interprétation de l'hymne national par Rachel Jewell. Today's colors are presented by the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 638 Canada.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command, car ton bras sait porter l'épée, il sait porter la croix, ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Today, the Ottawa Senators Community Foundation is proud to recognize Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, dedicating today's ceremonial face-off to the memory of Griffin Bell, a brave young boy whose strength, resilience, and spirit continued to inspire all who knew him. Pour la mise au jeu protocolaire de cet après-midi, joignez-vous à nous pour les accueillir. For today's ceremonial face-off, please join us in welcoming Senators and Maple Leafs alumnus and Griffin's uncle, Brendan Bell. Proudly joining him on the ice is geo-oncology patient Easton Adams, a true fighter and a symbol of hope for all children battling cancer. We are thrilled to share that Easton has recently completed treatment for B-cell acute lymphocyte leukemia. To Easton and to every child and family touched by childhood cancer, your courage inspires us. Would Brady Tkachuk of the Ottawa Senators and Callie Yarncroke of the Toronto Maple Leafs come to center ice for the ceremonial face-off? Thank you, merci, and give it up for Easton Adams.
Final day of summer, first day of the preseason for the Battle of Ontario boys. 144 days after their opening round series, it's on again on a Sunday afternoon at Canadian Tire Center in the nation's capital. And while we'll be focused on Easton Cowan, Leaf fans today, another Easton has already stolen the show. So the goaltenders, Arturs Atyamov heads into his second season with the Marlies. He gets the start tonight. He went 8-0-1 out of the gate in his rookie AHL season. At the other end, it's the number one for Ottawa, Linus Ullmark, kicking things off. 25 wins last year, earning a 4-year, $8.25 million a year contract extension. There are 11 Senators in the Game 6 lineup from last year's playoff. Tim Stützle leading Ottawa with 79 points on the season, 51 of them at home. And a lot of new faces in the Leaf lineup. Easton Cowan hoping to change the fact that there are not any Leafs other than Calle Jarnkrok playing today in the starting lineup from last year's playoff. NHL preseason starting lineup brought to you by Bet99. Download the Bet99 app. And Gary Galley, here we go again.
Yeah. You know what? It just seems like yesterday when these two teams finished playing on May 1st.
And here's a chance early. Stützle's in. Rounded. He can't finish it off. Close call in the opening 30 seconds. Now Thrun sends it ahead. Cowan will dispatch it down into the Ottawa zone, and the first changes are underway. There's Nicholas Matinpalo, who became prominent last year in Four Nations, also had a good World Championship for Finland. It's turned over here. Here's Jarnkrok to the net. Scores! Calle Jarnkrok with the opening goal, 47 seconds in.
Well, no surprise when you get into training camp and you get into those first games, there's always going to be mistakes. There's rust you got to kick off. First one is in the Leaf zone. This gets turned over in a real tough spot, and Stützle can't finish it. Kachuk can't finish it. And then back in the other end, Matinpalo throws it up the wall. It's not a great pass to Cousins. It gets turned over by Jarnkrok, and he just walks across the front of Ullmark and just has the patience to wait him out. Waits him out and finds the back of the net. 2 turnovers, 1 near goal, and 1 finds the back of the net. The Leafs up 1-0 here real early in this one.
Calle Jarnkrok did not play his first game till March 3rd last year, an injury-plagued season, and he's battling for a job here. Nobody in the Leafs lineup really guaranteed anything for opening night against Montreal. Zach McEwen digs down into Toronto territory against young defenseman Ben Danford. Jarnkrok a little trouble with it there. McEwen on the scene. Michael Pezzetta trying to work it loose. It'll come back to Jordan Spence, a newcomer on the blue line for Ottawa, the former LA King. Here's a shot by Clement going wide. Spence puts it right on goal. Rebound will be kicked back to Spence again. Good offensive defenseman. Levin returns it. Spence a shot. Atyamov the save of the rebound. And the goal-saving play there by Danford as he tied up Drake Batherson at the side of the net. Now a pass comes across, and here's Lasse Thompson back in Ottawa after a year in the Swedish Hockey League. In behind the net, it's Batherson. A centering pass, and Atyamov stops that. Side of the net to with control, it's Pezzetta. Dakota Mervis will look up ice. That pass broken up by Spence at the line, and now regrouped back into the Ottawa zone.
A nice gap control there by Lasse Thompson, playing defense up ice. Don't back off. If you can stay up tight on that blue line, you can turn pucks over and get the puck back on your stick and create some offense.
That is ice by Ottawa. Face-off will come back into the Senator zone.
Well, the injury to Nick Jensen and the hip surgery he was going to have to go through, the Senators did what they had to do, and one of the things they did was pick up this guy from LA, Spence. He is a fantastic player, obviously really good offensively, but he's really grown into a real solid defenseman here in the National Hockey League, and a change of scenery from him. He had a really career year last year in LA. I think a change of scenery here in Ottawa is going to do him a lot of good.
Might have the best passport in the league, born in Manly, Australia. Spent time in Japan before moving to Canada and developing his game in Prince Edward Island. Puck along the boards, Lettieri and Luke Hames, 43 for Toronto. Playing in his first game with the Maple Leafs in his hometown of Ottawa. Although Hames did play in the rookie tournament and scored against the Senators in Montreal. Here's Stützle back in, trying to drop it off. Claude Giroux after it. Down low it goes, in behind the net. Chabot has moved up. He'll kick it back to Tkachuk, and that's flagged down by Akhtiamov.
Well, a young kid that played for the Ottawa West Gold Knights here in Ottawa. Hames is a guy that is right from here, born and bred, and you mentioned the prospect game. You know how you get noticed? You block a shot with your face, you snap a couple of goals. That'll get you in one of these games, and when you get in one of these games, as Carolyn mentioned, this is an opportunity to prove yourself every single shift, and he's certainly making them notice him.
Got 9 games with the Marlies last year after signing a free agent deal. Broken hand impacted his draft status, playing college hockey at Dartmouth.
Well, the Senators certainly have the power lineup today. The Leafs strike first, but certainly more veteran presence here for the Ottawa Senators. Not a lot. I don't think there's just a lot of open space here for Ottawa. The biggest thing for Ottawa is how they're going to slot the guys that they have and where they're going to slot them.
A lot of talk about who will play right wing on the line with Stützle and Tkachuk. Fabian Zetterlund's got a lot of the ink, but Claude Giroux says, wait a minute, that's my spot. And so Giroux showed up at camp and has looked good early, and you know the veterans will dig in.
That's not a shock for Claude Giroux. I mean, this guy has been doing that ever since he came into the league. He wasn't going to stop. He comes into camp in incredible shape and always shows well.
Keeps it in at the line, saves it across. And that puck picked up. Here's Landon Sim. You heard Kipper talk about him, one of the 2 London Knights in the Maple Leaf lineup. Nick Robertson's checked in. He had a big scrimmage yesterday. A goal at even strength and then an empty netter. The only goal scored in the scrimmage. Mermish's shot is blocked. Danford puts it on goal. Kicked aside by Ullmark. Now Batherson trying to clear it. Gets it past Danford. Back to the Leaf line, and Cowan will pick it up there. Easton Cowan for Nick Robertson. Back it goes, and Mermis, a veteran, playing along with the youngster Danford, who makes a move. The captain of the Oshawa General sends it ahead. Here's Cowan trying to cut in, working against Spence. Cowan gets it across, and Benoit Groulx with the shot on against Ullmark.
Well, CC, you mentioned who is going to be on the right side with Tkachuk and Stützle, and here are 3 guys that could possibly be there. We already talked about Claude Giroux would be a fantastic fit, the veteran, and Batherson certainly would fit in nicely. But I think Zetterlund's the guy they want to see if he can be a little more creative, be a little more catalyst offensively. Last year, a lot of really good chances, but not a lot of finish. He kind of, to his own, accord, said, look, I'm not worrying about last year. This year's a different year. I'm coming in ready to go, and he's hoping to be the guy. And that way you can use Giroux and Batherson on other lines to strengthen them.
Off the draw in the Ottawa zone. Yarncroke trying to keep it alive for Toronto. Tyler Clevin with an outlet. Villeneuve stepped up, and the puck played past him. Marshall Rafai back in his own zone. Beau Groulx, born in France, he got knocked down there by McEwen. Nick Cousins works along the boards. Groulx battling for it. Groulx formerly of the Anaheim Ducks as it's sent across. Up high is Unique. Here's Jan Unique for Spence. Looking for room, and now Clevin with a shot. That one goes off Pezzetta. Villeneuve had his best year in the American Hockey League with the Marlies last year. Akhtiamov stopping it up. And the Leafs in the midst of a change. Rafai feeding it ahead. There's Hames flipping it in on the backhand. Vinny Lettieri going after it along with Travis Boyd. Here's Lettieri along the boards. 5 times a 20-goal scorer in the American Hockey League. Last year played with the Providence Bruins. And a few games with the big club as well. There's Kaliev deep in Toronto territory. Myers checked. Run off the glass to the line, but kept in. And now Kaliev fans on it, and it comes back out to center. Lassie Thompson. Donovan Sabrango. Ottawa changing and shifting gears is Stützle. Kachuk trying to dump it in. 29 goals last year. Here's Stützle. Across in front, and Akhtiamov with a big stop there off Giroux. Stützle trying to get it back against Myers. And Sim will flip it ahead out to center. Barbolini stops it there and dumps it inside the line. Matt and Paolo had Stützle open, but the play offside at the line.
Now, Timmy Stützle showing the hands that he has, a near miss, and then this awesome backhand saucer to Giroux. Akhtiamov says, no way.
Season, but not many can make it look quite as easy as Drake Batherson. This summer, he played around on camera with Owen Mullen, a Division I golfer, three-time Nova Scotia Player of the Year. And what's so notable about this? Well, Batherson went low. He beat Mullen shooting a 67, and that may be why he finished the season a +2 handicap. Yes, not a 2 handicap, a +2. One can dream.
I can't even dream that.
The only thing you can't do is sandbag when you're playing like that, huh?
Not now. Matt ruined it for him.
Robertson sent it around, and it ends up ricocheting back into the Ottawa bench in your neck of the woods.
So many people talk about hockey players being incredible golfers, and the crazy thing that people can't wrap their head around is when they look at someone who shoots left and plays right, or someone who shoots right and plays left as a golfer, they can't believe that you don't play the same way that you shot or passed the puck as a player. And man, so many good players out there. Pavelski comes to mind.
Yep. There's a shot right off the face-off. Danford stopped by Ullmark. Robertson steals, and he whipped that just wide. Here's Dakota Mermis playing it back around. Robertson after it. That catch by Shabbat, but it's the Leafs regaining possession momentarily. Ridley Gregg trying to clear the zone, and now Batherson. Gregg playing at center in this first preseason game. Getting a look there. Of course, a regular on the wing, and now we get some bumping at the Leaf bench. David Perron took a shot and gave one back. So it starts to heat up down there as it's flipped in on Ullmark. A rebound and a quick shot there by Jacob Quillen. Quillen centering a line with Sim and Barbolini. Back comes Ottawa. Here's a shot by Yannick, stopped by Akhtiamov, and now a little post-whistle discussion.
Well, maybe the playoff series is still not sitting well with a couple of these guys who went at it back in May. Cowan, of course, was not there, but he takes this shot at Perron, and when Perron was yipping back at him, was strictly the puck was nowhere to be found there. You didn't have to do it. He responded back to Cowan, and here Yannick tries to go short side, and there was just nothing there. The puck comes over to him, bounce a little bit. He had to wait to settle it down. He couldn't just unload it right away.
Off the draw, back to the point, shoveled in on the backhand by Clevin. Back to the line, Spence, and he drifts that wide. Hot rebound onto the stick of Yarncroke, the Maple Leaf goal scorer. Kelly Yarncroke, who's kind of been a forgotten man in a sense, but hoping to regain his status with the Leafs. Got it into the middle. Here's Pezzetta trying to get it to the net. And that one kicked aside. Villeneuve sends it in behind the net, looking for Drew. That's broken up by Clevin. Drew after him, and along the boards, Pezzetta on the forecheck. Here's Spence turning away from Drew.
That's what makes him really good, is that he can escape from trouble, and he's patient. He's not a guy who's going to panic with the puck. He's really calm. Right there was a great example of it. Don't just throw it into a bad area. Have the patience to wait it out and make a better play.
That went off Stützle. Front sends it around. David Camp flipping it back to front, acquired from San Jose in a trade for Ryan Reeves. David Camp dumps it out to center ice. Just past 9 minutes of this opening period, with the first minute goal by Yarncroke, giving the Leafs a lead. Cowan checked, and Thompson sends it ahead. Stützle inside the line. Fires it across, gets it back. Tim Stützle in, and he shot that wide. Funny rebound off the end glass, but the Leafs control. And it's flipped aside by Myers, who ventures in deep. Here's Sabango. And Thompson. And again, returning to Ottawa after a year in the Swedish League. Greg Batherson flying in. Here's Perron with a shot to knock Tiamov. Will reel in the rebound.
Well, Michael Pezzetta was added to this Leafs roster in training camp, not because he's going to score a ton of points, but the energy and the physicality he brings. But make no mistake, he's got not a bad set of hands, and he gets in tight, gets that to the net, and then Timmy Stützle gives one to Sabrango, gets the return right perfectly through the seam, and nice save there by Akhtiamov. Batherson, so hard when he cuts across like that. He's got such reach, he gets it so far away from you. So here he is coming right at you, you're the D-man, and when he makes that cut right, that stick length, there's no way you can reach it. He controls the play coming through the seam, nice drop pass, nice setup for his line mate.
Ames wins the draw, kept in at the line by Shabbat. Now in his 10th year, Thomas Shabbat, time flies. There's Hames at center, turns it over. Oscar Pettersson comes back in. Puts it on Akhtiamov, who left the rebound of the first penalty of the game. He is going against the Maple Leafs. Ben Danford with the hook. And Ottawa will have the power play when we come back.
Linus Ullmark was great for the Senators down the stretch, but you won't find him resting on his laurels. In fact, he continues to be his own hardest critic. Just a few days into camp saying, I thought that was a pretty terrible showing. Travis Green was quick to throw cold water on that, saying he didn't believe that Linus Ullmark had a great few days at camp, but Ullmark is the key for the Ottawa Senators, and no doubt will be this season, guys.
43 games last year. Gary, how many do you think he could start this season?
It's hard to know. Can he stay healthy, right? It's always been an issue for him, but coaches don't like it when they're starting guys that hard on themselves.
So Ottawa on the power play, a centering pass for Kaliev. It'll come back across to Kaliev. Shabbat Kaliev with the block. A 51-goal scorer in Hamilton. When Steve Staios was running that junior powerhouse, Shabbat walks the line, watched by Kemp. Now Stützle puts on the brakes. Camp and Yarncrook, the penalty killers for the Leafs, along with Myers and Thrun, and Tkachuk fired that. Comes back for Shabbat. Ottawa with a solid power play last year. That one turned over, and David Kemp will dump it down the ice.
Well, you talk about Kaliev, and the one thing that he possesses, he has a ton of skills, by the way. He might not be the fleetest of foot, but the one thing he possesses is a really good one-timer. And we saw him kind of let that go. It's pretty smooth.
There's Ridley Gregg in. Watched by Mermis. Around it goes out of the reach of Giroux, who's got it now. Gregg passes it across, back to Spitz up top. Jordan Spitz may get some power play time, but that's picked off and dumped out. Drew on the penalty kill. Second pairing with Jacob Pullen. There's Spence. Back for Ridley Gregg. Half minute remaining in the power play. Gregg digs in against Myers. They'll jam along the boards. Myers flipped it loose. Barbolini trying to catch up to it. Kept alive there. And now David Perron in behind the net. Gregg feeds it back to Giroux. And across. Centering pass. And Gregg can't get a stick on it in the crease. Spence, he'll shoot it. That block. Out of the box comes Danford. He's got a break. Ben Danford. And he just missed the target. What a chance for the young defenseman. So the Leafs kill the opening penalty of the game. Haven't done much work, Gary, on their special teams. In fact, that apparently was the focus back in Toronto today with the main units. Flipped ahead, Cowan in behind the defense, but recovering there, Unique. Here's the shot, Robertson scores! Nick Robertson is heating up early, and it's 2-0 Toronto.
We heard Nick talking about it in the studio that, you know, a guy like Robertson has to make a difference in a game like this when it's not a star-studded lineup for the Leafs. They're up 2-0, but for a guy like Nick Robertson, it really doesn't matter. You don't have an excuse. Cowan does a nice job getting it deep in the zone, but he loses it. And it's David Kampf that does a real nice job. Once the puck turns over, he locates it. And when he locates it, he lays it right in the wheelhouse for Robertson. All he has to do is just tee it up. And that's exactly what he did. And that's what he does. This is the guy who's capable of scoring goals. And if you can get going a little bit in training camp and get that good feeling, it can lead to a really good start to the season. But getting the puck deep, Ruby's going to love that. You know, turning the puck over, getting the puck back, Kemp. And then, of course, getting it to a high-quality scoring spot and taking advantage of it. And they absolutely did that, and they have themselves a 2-0 lead.
Robertson was the story of league training camp last year, and then couldn't follow up. Just 1 goal in his first 19, but as Gary mentioned, 15 goals for Robertson was a career high. Can he find a spot in the lineup? Talk about an open position perhaps with Nick Waugh and Dakota Joshua on the third line. Do they go big with Bobby McMahon, or do they get a more offensive playmaking player like Easton Cowan or Nick Robertson? Those are some of the questions to be determined. Back it comes to Thrun. He'll send it around. Barbolini looking for it. It'll come back to the right point. That one blocked in front. Then Giroux's got it. Out at center. Knocked down by Barbolini. Pulling back in, but Landon Sim caught offside.
Well, it's a nice problem to have. I mean, one of these teams took a step forward last year, and that was the Ottawa Senators. They got themselves into the playoffs. They got a taste of it. They want more of it. But the Toronto Maple Leafs, they failed to take that step. They got right there. They were up 2-0 against Florida, and everyone knows what happened. Lost 4 of the last 5. They didn't get the win in that series, and that's a tougher summer to have. And you make more changes, and changes come at the top with Brendan Shanahan. You don't sign Marner. You got to add new pieces, and as Brad Treliving put it, we got to change the DNA of this team, and that means different line combinations, different thought process, adding of new players like the guys you just mentioned, a little more physical, a little more Craig Berube style.
So the goal, Robertson from Camp at 12:47. Aaron Crook and Robertson so far with under 6 minutes to go in this first period. Jordan Spence leads the breakout. Ridley Gregg from center. Mermis bumping it around. Danford along the boards, working against Batherson. Here's Dakota Mermis. Michael Pezzetta at center, flipping it through. Grew trying to skate onto that, but it's icing called against Toronto.
I think a lot of people look at the lineups that were coming into this game today, and you think, well, the advantage is heavily within Ottawa. Ottawa has a lot of guys that probably know they're going to be on this team. They're just waiting to get slotted into the lines where they're going. But for the other side, not so much. A lot of those guys on the Maple Leafs are absolutely fighting to get themselves in another game and get looked at and get a little more ahead. So it's going to be a tougher team to play against, I think, than people thought.
You know, watching the first couple of days of training camp in Toronto, one of the first takeaways for me was how good the guys are that are not guaranteed spots in the NHL. The talent level of everybody involved is really high.
Well, it's such a fine line. It comes down to sometimes just the intangibles, CC. What a person brings at a specific spot that the team feels like they need. Not necessarily the most skilled person, but a guy that just fits the bill.
Here's Rafai sending it around. Off the skate to Camp, who gets bumped. Kachuk and Giroux back to the attack. Over the line is Claude Giroux. Sending it in front. Akhtiamov knocked down. He's lost his glove. And they pile up in front. Snow Angel for Akhtiamov, who went gloveless there, but keeps it out.
Well, what a wonderful job by Akhtiamov. He hasn't had a ton of work, but the work he's had, he's made some really nice saves. That one there in close on Kachuk. Lost the catching glove, didn't really need it, as Giroux slides this one across. And this line with Stützle, Giroux, and Kachuk have been a handful, but Akhtiamov, there's my wet hand. Good job.
Nick Robertson once again finds himself in a familiar situation on a one-year deal, fighting for a regular lineup spot. Year after year, though, he continues to prove that he can put the puck in the net. And he spoke at training camp and recently said, I think I have to prove myself. You have to prove your strengths. There's so many things you can stress about. Why would I stress about something I can't control? If you take a look at the numbers, he can put up the offense. He can be a regular NHL player. He just has to find that spot, guys.
And that's the truth of it. You can't control who you play with. They're gonna, you're gonna play with different people. All you can control is how you play, how you stick to the team philosophies, the team's identity, and when you get your opportunities, hope that you can bury them. And as goal scorers will tell you, it's a streaky job. Sometimes they don't always come. Sometimes they come in bunches.
Tried to be more physical last year, 79 hits to go along with the 15 goals.
I think a lot of skilled players are seeing to win a Stanley Cup in this league, even when you're skilled, you have to play physical. And that's how you win cups. So these guys know it, and they're starting to do it more and more often.
Puck gets past McEwen, brought back in, and the Leafs offside at the Ottawa line.
Well, training camp, always a fun time when you get back in the mix with your teammates and coaching staff. And I mean, this is not for the faint of heart. Some of these practices that you're going in, there's a lot of battle drills going on. Coaches are trying to get their players game ready. And you don't play as many games as you used to play. Back when I was playing, and back in the day when they invented dirt, I mean, you'd play 14, 15 preseason games before you start the regular season. Now, coaches want their guys, and Travis Green talked about this, maybe 3, maybe 4 games maximum, would you want one of your players to play in to get themselves ready to start in October.
Next season, there'll be 4 and a limit of 2 for veteran players. These two teams with 6 preseason games each as an icing is called. Both teams in their second year with their respective coaches. Both Travis Green and Craig Berube have similar reputations for tough, competitive, physical camps that a lot of the veterans say they're more ready for this year than last. I guess the one difference, Travis Green's had a lot of different combinations for lines in the early going, and in the first few days, Craig Berube really kept his lines standing pat, although we've seen some different combinations in this preseason game. But Tim Stützle, first day of training camp, was not with Brady Tkachuk and Claude Giroux. Here's Clevin ahead. Up looking for Greg, and Greg knocked down by Villeneuve. The penalty coming up, and it's going to go against Ridley Gregg.
Well, Ridley Gregg's trying to squeeze himself through along the boards. And I think at the end of the day, when this puck gets chipped, he thinks he should be let through, but at the end of the day, he's not. He reaches his arms around Villeneuve, and down he goes. I don't know, I didn't think it was really much there, to be honest with you. But the penalty to Ridley Gregg, nonetheless. 3 minutes and 2 seconds left. The Leafs with a 2-0 lead, and now on the power play. And you mentioned it early, CC. These teams aren't working on specialty teams, so to say, you know, right off the bat in training camp. They will get to it eventually. There's so many other things they want to get to, but that's why the special teams might be a bit rusty.
Greg Berube's got Nick Robertson playing the point on the power play, although Robertson digs in there after the puck. First power play of the game for Toronto. In their 4 wins in the playoffs against Ottawa, the league power play went 6 for 10. They were 0 for 7 in the 2 losses, so special teams were critical in that opening round series. Power play making a quick change as Mountain Palo dumps it in. Luke Hames now out. Villeneuve, who runs the power play for the Marlies, will lead them out. Here comes David Kampf over the line. Travis Boyd and Vinny Lettieri up front now. Boyd on the forecheck, taken away from Nick Cousins by Kampf. It'll come across for Villeneuve. And here's Lettieri. Back to Villeneuve, shooting, scores! That one tipped in front. And the Leafs have a 3-0 lead.
Well, the simplicity of a power play, get the puck back to the top of the umbrella and then walk the line. If you don't have anything, put it at the net, especially if you've got traffic there. And Villeneuve, as you mentioned, who plays a lot of power play time down with the Marlies, does the right thing. As he walks this thing across, he's got some depth screening, and he actually sees action going to the net, so he feels like, hey, if this gets through, I've got somebody coming right through there, which was Boyd. And I just think as Clavin moves along, he takes the vision of the puck away from Ullmark. Clavin's a big guy, and as he moves into that eyesight of his goaltender, even just to lose it for a split second, that's all it needed, and it found the back of the net.
Villeneuve had 40 points for the Marlies on the year. Wasn't sure if David Camp got a stick on that. It looks like it could be Villeneuve's goal. And a 3-0 Leaf lead here in the opening period. Carmelini on the forecheck. Spence ahead for Greg. In the box as the Leafs add to their lead. Sim after it, coming back is Perron. And Lassie Thompson fires it into the glove of Aktiamov.
Well, certainly not the start you want if you're Ottawa here at home and with the lineup that you have, but Lettieri just lays this back to Villeneuve, and this is just a frisbee coming to the net. I'm not sure if it goes off the glove of Clevin or not, but again, I think a lot of it had to do with just the big body in front of Ullmark. He's not a small guy and should be able to look around, but 3 goals here in the first period against Ullmark in game 1.
So Vinny Lettieri and Ames draw the assists. And Ullmark's not going to be any happier about this than he was about his first 2 days of training camp that Sean McKenzie detailed earlier.
Well, certainly not the way you want to start. I mean, nobody wants to start allowing 3 in a first period, and that might be all he gets in this game, so he's not going to enjoy that. But again, you got to put everything into perspective. Everything is preparation, get ready for October 9th against the Tampa Bay Lightning.
It is just preseason. Leafs with 3 in the first, though. Scored only 3 against Ottawa in 3 regular season meetings, all Senator wins. So the final minute of the opening period. Ullmark knocks it down behind the net for Tyler Clevin. Trying to feed it ahead for Tkachuk. That's going to go 200 feet, icing Ottawa.
And for a guy like Ullmark, and I mentioned earlier too, CC, like, I think if he can stay healthy, you know, it was such a solid year for him, and I think for the first time in a long time, the Senators had such extreme confidence in their goaltending. It felt like their goaltender could win them some games. You need your goaltender to win you games and give your team confidence, and that's what happened last year, and they're hoping this year it just gets better.
Tampa gets Giroux on the draw. Giroux wins it. He was 61.5% last year. A dominant force in the face-off circle. Camp can't play it past Spence. Rafai being chased by Giroux. Marshall Rafai ahead, bumped by Robertson to Cowan. There's Nick Robertson on the forecheck. Shabbat an outlet. Camp steps up to disrupt that. Puck loose to the line for Rafai. Villeneuve sends it into the corner. Camp after it along with Robertson, but Shabbat gets control. Up ahead, Pettersson. Kind of one-handed deep, but turned over. Robertson holds, and the clock drains on the opening period. A good one for the Maple Leafs. Starts with a Yarncrook goal in the opening minute. Nick Robertson scores a power play marker by William Villeneuve. The Leafs score 3 on 8 shots in the opening period and have a 3-0 lead. Carolyn Cameron along with Nick Kiprios, Justin Bourne, and Elliot Friedman coming up in our first intermission.
Yes, it's been a field trip with the kids, and well, the kids are all right. Even carrying a few extra bags into today's matinee, doing some grunt work on and off the ice, and despite being badly outmatched on paper, well, the Leafs youth has been on full display. Two guys in particular, Easton Cowan and Ben Danford. It's our first look at Danford in preseason action. He suffered a concussion early in camp last year and missed all of it, and all eyes, well, they'll be on Easton Cowan. He came into camp bigger, stronger, heavier, wanting to be more physical. We've seen that here so far tonight. It is a youth movement in Toronto, and the field trip continues, and is Jarnkrok driving the bus, guys.
When I was a kid, you had a field trip to Ottawa. Of course you have a field trip to the nation's capital. So good first period for Toronto, and they will face a different goaltender in the second period. It'll be Matt Sogard. Not to suggest they have chased Ullmark, because we were given an indication that Ullmark might play just one period. They didn't want to write that in ink, but it will be Sogard the rest of the way.
Now goal for Ottawa.
Sogard in a battle for the backup job. Ludwig Merolainen is the leading candidate in that department as we start the second period. Here's a centering pass for it. Tkachuk in front. Aktiamov remains in goal for Toronto. Robertson from center. That'll be gloved, and it's going to be held by the big Danish goaltender, 6'7", 217 pounds.
He looks even taller than that, to be honest with you. He is a big body in the net for the Ottawa Senators. And you're right, for Ullmark, there's no reason to play him more than a period here. Get him in, get a sweat, get him used to the movement on the ice. It's really important that you get a comfortability, but again, everything is directed and funneling towards that first game on October 9th. And then, of course, their home opener here against Nashville on October 13th.
Stützle left it, Tkachuk centered it, picked off by Toronto, and played ahead. Here come the Leafs as Mermis sends it in on goal. Out of the corner, Jarnkrok had it knocked off his stick and flipped away at center. Over the line, Zach McEwen. And hops the stick to Aktiamov. Nick Cousins to the line, spits a shot. That's his second shot, his sixth shot attempt of the game. So he come out firing the puck, and a shot by McEwen cuts down. Drew tries to shake that off. Drew, a Guy Carbonneau Trophy winner, is the best defensive forward in the Quebec Major League. Puck centered in front, Jarnkrok there, got tied up and lost the puck. It'll come back to Spence again. And across for Clevin. His shot right on, and Aktiamov will cover.
Well, I think it's kind of the response we're going to see here from Ottawa. It's a preseason game, I understand that. Nick Cousins has been sitting right on top of Aktiamov, so he's going to draw a little attention right there, and he has. And a good first period for Aktiamov. He was really solid, didn't leave a lot out there. I think one puck he dropped, it led to a penalty that was taken. If he could have hung on to it, that was really about it. Other than that, he's been pretty solid, doesn't bleed a rebound there. And Cousins on the doorstep gives him a little shot. And that's not unusual for Nick Cousins.
3 shutouts in his American Hockey League rookie campaign. Here's Sebrango. Rick Batherson off the post scores. Ridley Gregg puts it back in. We'll see if the initial shot beat Aktiamov.
One of the strengths that Ottawa does have is up the middle of the ice. That's where they're really going to be solid. And Gregg does a nice job of winning this draw, gets some help from his winger. And Thompson draws it down to the hash mark. And when he draws it down to the hash mark, he draws all the Leafs down towards the net. And then it gets right up back top to Batherson, who backs himself out to be available. So real smart by Batherson. He lays it off the post, and Ridley Gregg is there to bang in the rebound, and the Senators are on the board.
Gregg with 13 goals in each of the last 2 years. And the Senators hoping he can take another step this season.
If Lassie Thompson just stays up with the blue line on that D-to-D and doesn't move down to the hash, that play doesn't happen.
Batherson trying to cut in. His pass broken up by Quillen. Rafai's lost his stick as the puck is sent out. Carmelini on the move, but we've got a penalty pending. Or a high stick, excuse me. High stick will hold play.
Well, the Senators finally on the board, and the drop of the puck from the second period, and the most of the play so far in the first 2 minutes and 20 seconds, so to speak, has been in the Leafs' end. And you knew there's going to be a bit of a response here, even though it's a preseason game. Down 3-0 after one, it is not where you want to be.
You think Travis got their attention in the intermission?
I would think so.
Here's Artur Kaliev playing it around. It'll come to Shabbat on the near side. Up high, it's dropped back by Yannick to Shabbat. Matt and Paolo looking to center. That went off a stick and into the glove of Akhtiamov. And temper short to start the second.
You know, I don't mean to say that Green went in the locker room and tore paint off the wall. There's no chance of that. But I think you go in, you talk to your team, you look, guys, you know, hey, we got to be a little more invested in here. Let's get into the dirty zones. Let's get to the front of the net. Let's be harder to play against. Let's control the puck more. Let's do some of the things we're more than capable of doing here. And I think that's what they're doing. They're just kind of leaning a little bit more, being at the net. And they're turning over some pucks, and they got a goal from it.
See, 97 points last year, and their return to the postseason, 97 points, one fewer than that of the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. Leafs finished with 108 to win the Atlantic. Here's Cowan with a short pass. Robertson fires that high. Around it comes for Tkachuk up at center ice, and here's Stutzler working in. Trying to give it back to Giroux. Shabbat follows. Robertson had him tied up momentarily. Giroux, Brady Tkachuk, and that'll be gloved and held by Akhtiamov.
Well, the one thing the Ottawa Senators do know is the start is very important. And for a lot of seasons, their start really bit them early. And at the end of the day, it's just a lot to catch up to get yourself in the playoffs. Last year, not a great start either. And they found their way in. They know this year the start has to be really good. Get off to that good start and have those points in the bank, so at the end you're not scrambling. A real good year for them getting in the playoffs. You cannot put a price tag on how valuable those playoff games are for their young players who are growing in with this team. So those playoff games are huge, and they want more.
That puck turned over, a chance in front, and a backhand sent wide by Batherson. Drew fires it back, and now fit a hit on the right wing. Big hit there by Clevin. Stepping into Pezzetta, who gets the license plate, and Rafai stepped up. Batherson gonna drop the gloves, but Marshall Rafai and David Perron gets caught up in the action here. Well, the Battle of Ontario is back on. Pezzetta drops his gloves with Ridley Gregg. The initial hit on Pezzetta and the response from Rafai.
An initial hit from, I don't know if it was Clevin who threw the hit on the far side. I mean, that's what set all this off. We haven't seen a lot of weight being thrown around thus far in this game. This is a training camp game. This is a preseason game where you're trying to show your stuff. And this hit right here on Pezzetta is kind of what got Rafai to step right up and take this run at Gregg. And once that happened, in came Batherson, in came Perron. And then once the battle gets going, if you're on the ice, a guy like Pezzetta, and there's a guy out there maybe you don't like very much, here's a good time to grab onto him. So he grabs onto Ridley Gregg. Nothing happens there. Guys are escorted to the penalty box. And finally, a little action, a little angst, a little combustion here that you normally would see in a preseason game of this stature.
Perron around the box, wondered if he might get called for joining that altercation, but it looks like Pezzetta and Rafai.
He's all around it, but he really never, I think he falls down at one point, or he might have been in on top of Rafai along with Batherson, but he never really gets in there. You think he might get one from just being on the outer edge of it all, but it looks like at this point, he's going to avoid a penalty. They'll probably even this thing all up at the end of the day.
Mitch Dunning, Peter McDougall are the referees. Sean Oliver and Devin Berg are on the lines for this preseason game.
Well, here's the run, and Batherson immediate, right? And over time, teams know that you gain a lot of traction within your team when you stick up for one another. It's all for one, one for all. When someone you think takes a run at one of your players, then it's important for you to be there. It doesn't matter who it is. Batherson, you know, known more for goal scoring and playmaking and skill sets, you know, jumps in there. He's the first guy in there, and that speaks volumes along the bench for the Senators. And you look at Rafai, a guy who didn't like the hit on Pizzetta, and steps right up and throws one on Greg. That's a response almost immediately. And if you're the Leafs, you like to see that too. So nice physical shift, ends with some penalties, and it's all good in my books. This is what you kind of think you're going to get a little of in games like this.
Marshall Rafai had a couple of games with the Leafs a couple of seasons back.
Well, you mentioned the referees and linesmen in this game. Sean Oliver, the youngster here, Ottawa West Golden Knight here in Ottawa, an Ottawa native. The game here in his hometown. Well, so Rafai comes across the ice. Now, if the hit is deemed to be a clean one, then I don't see why he gets a penalty. So that makes sense to me, unless he give him a roughing along the wall with Batherson.
Yeah, it's not with the gloves off. That would at least be
a roughing penalty, right?
Penalty,
yeah.
But apparently not.
I didn't take any issue with him coming across throwing the hit. I don't think I had a problem with that. I mean, afterwards along the wall, that's referee's discretion on that. And I didn't have a problem with the hit by Clevin either. I thought both were good hits. But as we know in this game now, CC, sometimes really good hits draw attention. It doesn't matter if they're clean or not.
Well, the temperature of the game certainly went up. And
Ottawa 19, Toronto 61. Coincidental double minors for roughing. And we have Ottawa 71, 2-minute minor for slashing.
Well, so the Maple Leafs end up with a power play out of that.
A slashing call that I guess I didn't pick up. So that would have happened after maybe. Maybe that's what drew Pizzetta over there. Maybe that's something that we didn't see initially, but that's the call that the referee saw, and there's the extra penalty there. I mean, Ridley Gregg, one of those guys, he wants to get under your skin. Does a good job of it. He's been a real solid player for the Sens.
Second power play of the game for the Leafs. Villeneuve had a power play goal in the first period. And a face-off win by Ottawa to clear the zone, and Villeneuve goes back to get it. And Robertson back on the point. Easton Cowan out there along with Quillen working in for Cowan. Robertson gets the puck. He has a goal in the game. Cowan back for Robertson. They'll switch spots. Claude Giroux, Tim Stützle, the penalty killers. Seam pass Cowan. Back across Robertson. Quillen's in the slot. And here's Robertson firing another hot shot that knocks the mask off Sogard. And the whistle sounds.
That's got to be one high riser to catch him in the head. He is one tall chap, and that took the mask right off, and the referee's checking on him to make sure he's okay. And again, I like the puck movement of the Maple Leafs power play. Down low to Yarncroke, right back up to Robertson, and of course, there's the heater that takes the mask off of Sogard. He's so tall, his head is literally above the crossbar still. And good breakout, good entry into the zone. Quillen uses really good speed to back off the penalty killers. And when they get in the zone, they get set up quickly, and their puck movement is crisp and quick, and that's why they're having some success on it.
Off the draw, puck slides right to Sogard, leaves it for Spence. That's fired around and ends up in the Leaf bench.
Training camp, normally the one, when you look at things that you work on, but one of the things that you're rusty a little bit usually at the start of season is passing. Passing is the one thing that always takes a little more time to get kind of streamlined and get to where it should be for these players at this high level. But skating, shooting, all that stuff, it seems to come quicker, but the passing is what takes a bit more time. and some of the passes are just off a little bit, and that's why we see a little bit of bouncing pucks, hitting guys, and guys not really being able to one-time pucks and things of that nature.
Minute gone on the league power play. Lettieri out there now, 50 points last year in Providence. Here's Luke Hames in. Hames fires. Sogard gets a piece of that. David Kemp to the line. Rose sends it over. Lettieri's got it. Down low. There's a chance for Hames trying to jam it in along with Travis Boyd. Back to Lettieri. Off the boards for Thrun. And Lettieri. Henry Thrun. Former captain at Harvard, David Kemp. Back to Thrun. In the slot, roll through, and that'll get cleared by Pettersson. On the change, it was fired down the ice. No lead there to pick up the pass as Akhtiyama tried to catch Ottawa on the change. Back in comes Barbolini. Give and go. Barbolini scores! Matthew Barbolini restores a 3-goal Toronto lead.
Well, not something that you see often. One goaltender throws the puck, misses everybody to the other goaltender. Sogard gets this puck, and he's going to try to get it out, help get it out of the zone. And as he flips this up the wall, Brango stops it, but it never really gets onto the tape. They never get possession. The thing is transitioned very quickly. And it's just a good give and go here at the blue line with Grew. And a really nice release. I mean, that's the one thing. It's the release of the puck that catches the goaltender oftentimes, and Barbolini rips that thing, catches Sogard off a little bit off the post. And the Leafs regain that 3-goal lead.
Couple power play goals. That came with 2 seconds remaining in the Ottawa penalty. So Barbolini on the board, 4 goals last year with the Marlies. Here's Grew over the line. Barbolini stays onside. Bouncing puck picked up by Ottawa. And it's Kaliev looking rink wide. Unique trying to catch up to that. And coming back is Landon Sims. That flipped over the glass. Is that going to be a penalty against Toronto?
I would think so.
So Danford makes his way to the penalty box for the second time. A power play goal by Toronto. A power play upcoming for Ottawa. Ben Danford, delay of game, gives Ottawa its second power play of the afternoon.
Well, he circles around the back of the net, and I think they were trying to see if it might have went off the Senators' stick on the check, but it did not. That thing floated straight out of play. And the Ottawa Senators, with 13:45 here to go in the second period, will try to cut into this 3-goal lead once again.
Ottawa 11th on the power play during the regular season, 23.8, and they've got at least 3 of the main complement with Tkachuk, Stützle, and Giroux, Shabbat, and Kaliev. And the Leafs control the draw, and Thrun will fire it into the Leaf bench.
Well, he's not happy with himself. He does the right thing when he comes around the net. He doesn't just rim it where it can get knocked down traveling around the wall. He actually cangs onto it. He has some ice. He takes it, and then he whips it into the goal bench, hits a stick, and face off all the way back at his end.
Scored his first NHL goal against the Maple Leafs. And a guy in San Jose that Toronto thinks they might have found something. A young defenseman who was on a team that lost a lot of games over a 2-year span there. That can impede a young guy's development and confidence level. I'm sure you can relate to that, Gary. As you never played on a team like that, but it can't be helpful to developing your game.
Well, that's why you have people that watch these guys all the time and really look at them, not just wins and losses, but how they play and their skill sets.
Here's Stützle looking across. Kaliev from the corner, back up top. Stützle once again. Sidestep Robertson, got a stick on it though, and turns it over, and now the Leaf break out. Here's Philip Myers with Robertson. Myers over the line to the net, and that knocks the stick out of the hands of Shabbat, who breaks up the play. Giroux back. Kachuk on the left wing. On him is Quillen. Quillen continues to battle, and Kachuk goes down. Lost his helmet. Plays it around. Kachuk's got to go to the bench. Kept in at the line by Lexell. Thompson. Across on the near side, Giroux. Giroux tied up. Lexell. Lassie Thompson across. Good stick again, Robertson. Stutzla. Giroux. Back to Stutzla. There's Giroux behind the net. Points in the last 5 of the series against Toronto for the veteran Giroux. Kept in and back onto the stick of Stutzla. Dying seconds of the Danford penalty. Stutzla across. Here's Parada shot, and then ends up on the screen.
Well, good killing by the Maple Leafs. I mean, just giving Ottawa the perimeter, giving them the outside, letting them move the puck around the outside. But anytime that puck came into the middle of the ice, they had good sticks on the ice, especially Robertson. He's knocked down a couple of pucks, and the Leafs have killed off another penalty here. And not much to the net. I think they had maybe 1 shot on their first power play. I'm not sure if they had one there.
That was interesting because Nick Robertson doesn't get a lot of penalty killing time, but a good shift with Danford in the box.
He's looked really good in this game, CC. I mean, he's doing all the things that you would think he would need to do. You know, his skating, his shooting, we saw that in the first period. Now his ability to understand what to do when he's killing a penalty. All those things are things that they're looking at, and certainly he's looked good today.
So the Leafs back in full strength. Puck along the boards where Run and Drew were battling for it. Zach McEwen lost his footing just outside the line, brought back in, dumped by Landon Sim. Sim's dad, John, a former teammate to John Tavares and a Stanley Cup winner in Dallas.
Well, you'd have to think that as these teams move forward, I mean, they have carrying a lot of guys in camp right now. Guys getting an opportunity to play in this game, but within the next day or so, there's going to be some major cutting going on, getting down to reasonable numbers so coaches can really start looking at what they have. And for the Maple Leafs, trying to see who is going to fit best into the spots that they need to fill, and for the Ottawa Senators, how they're going to slot their players in the line things they're going to have when the season starts. And you got to get down to numbers to do that. Too many guys around makes it really too hard. The first few exhibition games are meant to kind of get a look at some of your young talent. After that, you really want to get down to your numbers.
These two teams will meet again on Tuesday in Toronto. Ames back to the line. Danford's shot is blocked, and out comes Lexell. Over the line, check there, turns it over. Hames sends it ahead, and trying to charge onto that Travis Boyd, and Shabbat got there first in a race of 72s to the puck. Kaliev flipping it in. Unique after it as Murma sends it around. There's Lexell, who comes out of the Philadelphia Flyers system. Sabrango across to the other side. Shabbat's shot is fronted there by Danford, and out comes Toronto. And Lettieri will dump it in to get a Leaf change. Approaching the midway mark of the second period. The Leafs with 3 in the first. And a 4-1 lead here in the second. In comes Batherson, and that shot flipped high. Batherson from the corner sends it across. Here's Sabrango right on, and an eye-high shot gloved down by Akhtiamov.
He looks comfortable in that net, I tell you. Like, you know, from the start of the game, he doesn't look rattled whatsoever, as he's made a number of good saves. He's tracking the puck well, and there he's right across waiting for it. I mean, he's done all he could do. He's allowed the 1 goal, and that was it off the post.
And that's it for the afternoon as Akhtiamov heads off. A solid performance, making 16 saves, and Vyacheslav Peksa, who played in the rookie tournament for the Leafs and is out of the ECHL. Cincinnati Cyclones will finish up here. That's a good performance by Akhtiamov. Now Easton Cowan, here's Robertson trying to cut in, and Lassie Thompson won't let him by. Loose puck for Kemp, along with Cowan. Philip Myers moves up. Myers got an assist on the fourth Leaf goal. That puck got passed through him, and Robertson just able to recover. Ridley Gregg gets it back. Now Batherson across to Perron. Not sure Pexa didn't get a stick on that, with Perron looking at an open net.
I think if you're Robertson, you might want to just get rid of that puck out of harm's way quickly. Hanging on to it just inside your blue line, not a good idea.
Out of his Grew, he'll cycle it back. A centering pass there by Pizzetta, picked off by Ridley Gregg. Up ahead it goes, and Ottawa to the attack with Batherson. An open man comes up as Lassie Thompson moves up, and a penalty coming up as Tkachuk is knocked down in front of the net. Looks like Villeneuve's going to get the gate. Giroux with Sogard going to the bench for an extra attacker, and play is called. Oh, it's going to be the third power play of the game for Ottawa. Penalty to Rafai.
Probably keep your head up. The Leafs know that now. Tonight, Clevin hammers Michael Pizzetta. This goes back to last year as well, though. In the playoffs, he laid a huge reverse hit on Steven Lorentz behind the net. After seeing that hit, it makes sense. Clevin idolized Nicholas Kronwall growing up. He had his poster on his wall. He also loved watching Kronwall hit videos on YouTube. He was once asked which ones he liked to watch. His answer, every one of them, guys.
Nothing like a good bee sting.
That's some tough love from his coach last year to start the season, but certainly earned Travis Green's trust. The power play and a quick pass to Tkachuk just failed to click on that hot pass from Batherson. So Stützle out there again with Tkachuk, Batherson, Shabbat, and here's Lexell as the fifth member of this power play unit. Tkachuk fires and just missed. Stützle back to Shabbat. Across for Brady Tkachuk, 9 goals short of 200 in his career. Batherson gives it back to the captain. That's fired across ice for Stützle up high. Yarncroke and Camp, the penalty killers to start for Toronto. Back it comes to Shabbat once again. He'll trade places with Stützle. Gets the one-timer across, off the stick of front, wide of the net. Myers unable to clear, but Camp following up, knocked down by Stützle. Still alive in the Leaf zone. Lexell down low in front. Good stick there by the goaltender Pexa, and he'll freeze it at the side of the Leaf cage.
Well, on top of the puck hard, and they get it back, and another attempt at the net. All over the top, and then eventually down low, and there's the missed one to Tkachuk, and that's the quick up to that bumper guy, and then Tkachuk walks in, tries to go upstairs. That gets blocked off a stick, and Lexell does a nice job of walking down. I thought he was going to go back up high to Shabbat. Instead, he came to the net, and they tried to bang it home.
So 41 seconds remaining in the Ottawa power play. Drake digs in on the draw against Grew. Danford trying to get a stick on it. Robertson finds it, so Nick Robertson gets another penalty kill shift for Craig Berube. Out there with Bo Grew, or excuse me, Jacob Quillen. Over the line, Perron. Giroux. Here's Spence looking in front. Perron stopped by Pexa in tight. Hermes ties up his man. Back to the line. Off Spence. Giroux in front, and that's healed by Kaliev wide of the net. Perron down low again in front. Scores. There's Kaliev with a goal that makes it 4-2.
Well, keeping the puck alive, even though the puck got bouncing around, they took some shots at the net. They were retrieving the puck over and over again, and eventually a missed shot and some good play down low. Watch Ridley Gregg. He's going to get this one, and he doesn't dust it off. He just sends it right out to Kaliev. And I mentioned earlier, Kaliev's got a really sweet one-timer. He drags that thing along the ground. He's nice. He's really strong on it. Perron to Greg, out into the slot, and the coverage is just a bit off the stick of Kaliev. And he made no mistake putting that into the back of the net with 6:48 to go. The lead is cut in half, and it's 4-2 Toronto now.
Just 14 games for the Rangers last year, 3 goals. He had 14 and 13 goal seasons. And here's Rafai. This after they hit earlier, and McEwen has challenged Marshall Rafai. McEwen's a heavyweight. Not sure how much Rafai has been involved in the past, but handling himself okay in another Battle of Ontario dust-up.
Well, accepting the challenge of McEwen, full marks right there. Doesn't matter. And he gets involved for his team and answers the bell on the hit.
Ottawa 17, Toronto 83. Each 5 minutes.
And a good bout and some good knuckle chucking there. I can hear it hitting the helmet and the side of the face here, as this one was right next to me. The conversation was made, and you can see Rafai and McEwen, and there was no mistake. Once the puck, you got to wait for the puck to drop, and they did. And then what you're trying to do is try to figure out what your opponent is trying to do first, and defense that, and then come after, and that's exactly.
There was a discussion in the warm-up. I wondered about this. That might be a little history from Belleville and the Marlies, but there was a conversation and a follow-through here in the second period. So 6.5 remaining here in the second period. A 2-goal Toronto lead as the puck bounces down into the Leaf zone. Barbalini takes him up. Yannick on the far side. Yannick. And Nick Cousins out there. Drew knocks it off the stick of Yannick. Villeneuve trying to play it out, kept in by Cousins. Here's Thompson. His shot knocked down, the Leafs will break out. Drew plays it past Thompson. Getting back in a hurry is Sabrango, who last year in a preseason game scored against the Leafs and also took on Ryan Reeves with mixed results. And a shot from the point, blasted wide of the net by Matt and Palo. Here comes Hames. Luke Hames shifting gears. Leafs changing behind him, and the Danford shot is out of play. And now Perron gets tied up with a leap behind the net.
Well, there's no doubt the second period's had a little more extracurricular activities going on for sure. You can tell just by the edge of the players when they're coming to their benches, the way they're kind of chatting with one another. It's certainly taken on a bit of an edge here in period 2.
Yeah, Vinny Lettieri involved there. Kaliev with the goal. It goes down as an even strength goal. 4-2 Toronto. David Perron, unsportsmanlike. Vinny Lettieri, a roughing penalty. As Lettieri joins the Leaf organization with a tremendous pedigree. His grandfather, Mr. Hockey in Minnesota, Lou Nanny, the former North Star great. Also a Hockey Night in Canada alum, and his dad, Tino Lettieri, the goalkeeper for Team Canada in their first World Cup appearance back in 1986. Used to put a stuffed parrot in the net as a good luck charm. I don't know if Vinny carries one of those around. That's a highly decorated family.
People talking about you, CC. Talking to a parrot. You're in trouble.
So 4-on-4 after the penalties to Perron and Lettieri. Here comes Shabbat, and that one up high on Pexa, who makes the stop, and the puck out of play.
And so many of these guys, especially a guy like Lettieri, right? Like, he may be up and down a bit this year. He may not have a spot right away. He may go down, then come back up and make a difference that way, maybe up and down a little bit. And who knows? I mean, there's all kinds of things you have to weigh out. Injuries, guys not playing well, you know, things change. And so you got to stay focused on what the job at hand is. But a lot of guys, unfortunately, are good players like you talked about, CC, and may have to start down the American Hockey League. And when they get up, make the mark. These
Played with the Rangers, Anaheim, Boston, Minnesota. Last year with the Bruins, 26 games.
Really good veteran player, smart player, not going to hurt you, and a guy that gives your organization depth.
Here's Nick Robertson out there along with Camp on the 4-on-4 with 5 minutes to go here in the second period. Drake Patterson on the ice for Ottawa as it comes back to Myers. Leaves it for Robertson. Holds on to it with Shabbat tracking him. Myers now trying to get to the net. Turns on Batherson, back to Robertson. What a move, and then he fired it high. At the line, Run hands it off. Camp looks for Robertson again. Run goes to the net. Robertson knocked down by Shabbat. Penalty coming up. And with 49 seconds remaining in the coincidental minors, it'll be a 4-on-3 power play for Toronto.
Well, as we're closing out the second period, he's been the best player on the ice as far as both teams. How about that fake shot dangle move right around Shabbat, and then eventually now he's going to get down into the corner and he's going to draw a penalty on Shabbat. I mean, you know, be hard to play against. Try to get away from checks, you know, and that's what he did. He kept his feet moving. Spin off, it causes Shabbat to have to reach out and grab him. And the 4-on-4 now is a 4-on-3 with 4:28 to go here in the second period for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Robertson stays out. Yarncroke on the draw, but Giroux wins another face-off, and Ottawa gets a clear.
He does that a lot.
Not many better. Villeneuve, who has the power play goal in the game. Easton Cowan over the line. That pass broken up, but Villeneuve along the line for Yarncroke and back. Cowan available on the left side, but they look for Robertson. Cowan on the move. Here's Easton Cowan. Back pedals into the middle, and now Robertson with a look and a stop by Sogard. Here's Spence taken away, but unable to clear the zone, kept alive by Villeneuve. Gally Yarncroke. Late stages of the 4-on-3 as Easton Cowan off the boards. Pivoting against Spence. Lettieri returns to the ice, takes the pass, and banned on the shot, and Perron also out of the box with the clear.
Well, nice job by Ottawa, you know, getting in there tight when they try to make that play into that slot area. Don't give them the second opportunity at it. Get that cleared.
Here's Danford now out on the power play. The former Oshawa General hands it off. Camp to the line and over. Sabrango with a shoulder check and then got hit by Lettieri. It'll come back to the line for Danford. Up along the boards, Lettieri tied up. And Sabrango with the clear. Couple dozen seconds remaining, and the penalty to Shabbat. Leafs have 2 power play goals in the game. Ames around for Travis Boyd in his second tour of duty with Toronto. And Villeneuve back into his own zone to get it. He'll defer to Murmas. And now Villeneuve ahead as Ottawa returns to full strength. Tyler Clevin. Up there by Pezzetta. Puck played ahead, and Kaliev, the most recent goal scorers on the move. Myers upends him, and Myers going to get the gate. The can opener called a tripping penalty against Philip Myers.
Well, Robertson has had an opportunity to play in pretty much every situation in this game tonight. Power play, penalty killing, 5-on-5, and here he tries to pick that top corner on the short side, and the Sogard's left shoulder just blocked that out of the way. Lettieri with a chance, and then eventually this penalty here by Myers as his stick gets into the skates of Kaliev, and the Ottawa Senators with 2:10 to go will have a chance to cut this lead again and maybe get into the dressing room only down by 1 heading into the third period.
Senators 0 for 3 in the game. Off the draw, puck into the corner. David Camp there. He's played by the youngster Danford to get it to Yarncroke, who dumps it back into Ottawa territory. Good situation for young Ben Danford out in a penalty killing role as Shabbat Leads Ottawa through center. Now Stutzla over the line. Comes back across. Kachuk with room, and Pexa got a piece of that, and it ricocheted past Shabbat and out.
Well, Kachuk knows when you miss those wide and everyone going to the net, it's going to end up exiting the zone. It's not going to stay in. Everyone's over a half icing rate. So when you miss that net, it's hard to get back into play.
Through with the steal, plays it across to Barbolini, and Sogard kicks that away. Now Stutzla galloping through center. Over the line is Tim Stutzla working it across. Batherson in, and a centering play, and that's fanned on in front, and Grew will clear. Chance there for Stutzla, who swings his stick in dismay.
He cannot believe that he fanned on that. What a great play for him, the patience to wait for Batherson as well.
Ridley Gregg on the move in the final minute of the second period. Villeneuve flips that ahead. And it's played past Lassie Thompson inside the zone. Haynes was after it. Recovered by Ottawa. And here comes Kaliev back in with Ridley Gregg. And Perron across to Giroux on the far side. Down low, a centering pass. And that ends up back at the Ottawa line. Late stages of the power play as Myers gets set to return. Giroux over the line, looking for Kaliev, and that's turned back by the Maple Leafs. Penalty done. So almost as the second period. One last dash for Ottawa. And they can't break through. Danford fires it around at the horn here in the second.
Well, nice job by Mermis standing up there and turning the Senators back. Ottawa almost cut this lead down to 1 here as Stutzla does a really nice job blowing into the zone and waiting and waiting and waiting. He knows Batherson is coming. Batherson with the fake shot throws this across to Timmy Stutzla, and he just could not get a handle on it, and he knows it. That was a wide open net for the taking. An unfortunate miss, and the Leafs head into the locker room still up by 2.
Gregg and Kaliev scored the goals for Ottawa. It was Barbolini for the Maple Leafs through 2. It's 4-2 for the Maple Leafs in the first skirmish. The Battle of Ontario for another year. Carolyn and the panel coming up in our second intermission. Lost Bernie Perrant, the NHL mourning the loss of a Hall of Fame netminder who won the Conn Smythe Trophy twice, 2-time Vezina Trophy winner and a 2-time Stanley Cup winner with Philadelphia, but also 2 years with the Maple Leafs, a Hall of Fame tandem with Jacques Plante between 1970 and 1972. What a tough month it has been. We've lost 3 of the all-timers, Gary Galley and Kent Dryden, Eddie Jacquemin, and today Bernie Perrant.
Yeah, I got to know Bernie in my time when I played with the Flyers, and he was around the rink quite often, and all I can say is what a nice man Bernie Perrant was. I mean, he was a terrific hockey player, but more than that, just a really nice person and very welcoming and helpful, and just can't say enough about him. It's a real loss. And all 3 of those guys meant so much to the game.
So the third period here in the first preseason game, a 2-goal Toronto lead. And the Leafs starting with Camp, Robertson, and Cowan. Ridley Gregg is on the ice along with Drake Batherson, who's been noticeable as Gregg breaks out, slips it through for Batherson. Here's Batherson turning, trying to feed it back for Perron, and that comes back outside the line. Batherson flips it in. Gregg goes after it. Run is there for Toronto. Gregg comes up with it. And here's Ridley Gregg, and that pass back to the point gets by Cleven all the way down the ice. Sogard came in after the first period for Linus Ullmark, who gave up 3. And Pex is in goal for the Maple Leafs, relieving Akiyama halfway through this game. Danford sends it around. Cleven holds the line, sends it in behind the net. And there is Danford. Up ahead for Michael Pezzetta grew up a Leaf fan, former Vaughan King, and of course coming over from Montreal, free agent signing July 1st. Over the line it goes to Cousins. Trying to slide that through. Pezzetta with a run at Cousins and the puck out of play.
Well, when you look at the guys in the lineup for the Leafs today, some of the ones that have stood up for me have been the guys on their blue line. I think they've had some guys back there that have done a really nice job moving the puck out of their end. That was a really sharp pass right there that came out from Danford. Those one-pass exits are so important, and that's what coaches love about their D-men. If they can get retrieval and make those one-pass exits, that's exactly what you want. Less time in your end.
You saw Mark Giordano behind the bench. Giordano will be helping out with the Marlies blue line this year. A new ad for Brad Treliving. Not sure if that's official, but if he's behind the bench, we better point it out. A penalty coming up as Sogard gloves it down. We'll see a league power play here early in the third period.
Well, we know Sim, he can be a pest, and he's been earlier on in this game in the first period. He gave Brady Tkachuk a whack going to the bench, and Brady kind of turned his head and noted the number there. Roughing called to Tkachuk, and saw his interview there with Mac, and it's pretty simple. I mean, yeah, these games, the score is irrelevant. It's all about preparing and getting ready for the drop of the puck in game one, and how excited he is for himself and his team as they approach this season and try to go even farther than last year. I mean, a real great season for them, and like I mentioned, the playoff games they experienced is stuff that you can't put a price on, and they want to get back there and taste that again.
Youngster Hames is going to draw against Claude Giroux, and the Senators able to control and send it down. David Camp out there along with Letary and Boyd.
Power plays look good for Toronto. I mean, obviously it's a makeshift kind of thing, but they've done a good job of keeping it simple and get the puck moving.
2 power play goals. This is a clear by Matt and Paolo. And first man to it is Stutzla. He overskates it, and could have been dangerous there for the Leafs. A little slow to get back. Now Hames works his way in over the line. Hames checked by Shabbat. To the near side, it's Camp cycling back off the stick of Letary, and Shabbat will send it away.
I was kind of surprised that Pexa didn't step out behind the net on that dump out and just stop the puck and don't give Ottawa a chance to even forecheck.
Run ahead over the line is Quillen, who made his NHL debut in this building last year, and it only lasted just over 5 minutes on a collision with Nick Cousins. Here's Villeneuve. Nick Robertson works his way over the line. That pass for Cowan broken up. Villeneuve back, and here's Robertson trying to gain the zone a second time, through with Cowan. And now a penalty coming up against the Leafs. And Cousins takes exception to that. And he and Quillen were involved in that collision last year, and now they're having words.
Well, in the second period, I think it was Clevin that got taken down on a penalty kill at the blue line. I think Boyd might have ran into him there, and here it's the same kind of interference as you see Quinlan coming across, and then he catches Cousins as he's trying to hold the blue line, right? He's trying to stay on side as he comes across. His right arm catches the face of Cousins, and there's the call. And as you mentioned, those guys got history, so you knew it was going to get a reaction from Cousins, that's for sure. And we'll have a little 4-on-4.
32 seconds left in the Tkachuk penalty, and then a power play for Ottawa. Face off in the Leaf zone. Hermes takes his man down, and up with the puck is Cowan. 4-on-4 for just under a half minute. A burst for Cowan. Here's Cowan in the backhand. Stopped by Sogard. Nice change of pace by Cowan. And Clevin crashing into the end boards, a little slow to get up.
Yeah, that was a weird fall for Clevin there. It looked really awkward as we have a little flashback to last year, cutting across the middle of the ice. Quillen and Cousins have a collision together, and then both guys seem to be shaken up. Cousins taking the worst of it. And those are the kind of things you don't forget. You don't forget the people that you have those kind of situations with, and they can stick with you an awful long time. I guarantee you Cousins knew exactly who that was that clipped him, and you knew he was going to react.
So 10 seconds away from an Ottawa power play. 4-2 Toronto here in the third. And Stützle will turn it back. Tkachuk and Batherson, and now it is a Ottawa power play. Stützle and Drake Batherson rolling it ahead for Tkachuk across. Stützle that jumps his stick, and he looks skyward. That the bad break with Stützle loose on the right side, and you can hear the frustration. There he goes again. He tries to slice through. It's broken up, but kept in at the line. Now Lexell. Down low Batherson, back to Lexell. Holds on to it for Chabot. On the other side, it's Stützle. Chabot fires and stopped by Pexa. Down, loose puck scores. Lexell as Pexa gives up a rebound, and it's a one-goal game.
Lexell does a really good job of catching the puck over on the half wall. It was a high pass to him, settles it down and controls it, doesn't try to squeeze a play out of it, and it settles the power play down, and then they go to work. And here he lays it out to the point. Tkachuk is in his familiar spot. Watch how hard Brady is to contain down here once this thing gets going. He uses his back to box out Yarncroke, and as he boxes out Yarncroke with his back, he knows that he has Lexell over to his side here. He just pushes it over to him. And Pexton's got no chance as he buries it into the back of the net. And we've got ourselves a one-goal game.
Lexell played 45 games with Philadelphia. Just one goal over that time. A consistent scorer in the American Hockey League with Lehigh Valley.
A nice glove save right there by Pexa. And that's what you want to see right after allowing a goal. McEwen with the high slot shot. There's the one he gloves out of the air. And instead of trying to go back, he kind of hangs on to it and he settles it down. He waits to get help in the corner, support, and in doing that, they kept it in the zone. We're able to set it up for a goal.
There's Thompson across. Sabrango puts it in front of the net. Henderson trying to come up with that. The Leafs find it first. And Lettieri dashes out, red line and in for Toronto. On the near side for Travis Boyd. Thompson leans on him. Puck in the corner. Four-man board battle. Boyd tied up by Thompson. Lettieri able to dig it loose. He gets hit there by Pettersson. Sabrango now up against Hames. Plays it back to the line for Villeneuve. Here's Luke Hames, the Ottawa kid. From distance, that goes off the glove of Sogard, and now played ahead, and here comes McEwen, 2-on-1. Thompson, and that went off the post. And glances out of play as Zach McEwen comes close to the equalizer.
Well, Toronto does a nice job on the forecheck, and they get the puck back. Stames takes it and walks along the blue line, gets a shot to the net, and then off that rebound is where the Leafs get caught. Rafai gets caught up ice, and that leads to this 2-on-1 as Thompson joins McEwen. But at the end of the day, McEwen does the right thing. There isn't a lane to go through. Good job by the defense to take that pass away, and he leaves the one-on-one with Pexa. And it goes off the iron and out of harm's way.
Here's Giroux on the draw, winning it back to Stützle. Back to Clevin, and that shot blocked and ricochets off Pezzetta all the way down into the Ottawa zone. Approaching 6 minutes of the third. Here's Stützle. Tkachuk rolling it through. Stützle one-hands it to the far side. Quillen unable to clear it, kept in by Chabot. Here's Stützle again, trying to get past Thrun. Tim Stützle turns, puts it in front. Back it comes to Jordan Spence. Stützle again. Tracked by Thrun, hands it off to Chabot. Shabbat watched there by Sim. Now Spence trying to turn on Pizzetta. Played around, nobody home for Ottawa, and it'll slide back into the Senator zone. Thomas Shabbat setting things up. Matt and Palo's away. Four Nations for Finland, also the World Championship. He had a breakout year, and they're counting on more from Nicholas Matt and Palo here in Ottawa. Off the stick of Lexell. Kaliev's there. Both have goals in the game. Puck loose here. Kaliev with a shot. Pexa got a piece of that, and now Robertson turns. Out is Nick Robertson, through for Easton Cowan. And Matt Palo sends it around, knocked down by Robertson, but played out to center ice. Pace quickens a bit here as Villeneuve sends it back in. David Kemp after it. Matt and Palo played it past him. Rafai sends it back in as the Leafs tag up and start a change. Let it go, Leafs go here, Gary, or go Sens go. It's a mixed crowd, and here's a chance for Ridley Gregg. Kicked away by Pexa. Now Villeneuve on that right side, Kelly Yarncroke, who opened the scoring. Barberlini with a goal in the game. Thomas Shabbat, an outlet, Batherson unable to take that. It comes back to Thrun, walking in, and Sogard fights that off. Perron up ahead. Greg rolls it through. And Bo Drew back in his own zone up ahead on the left side. Off Barbolini, who will hit off on a change. Cousins bumped by Lettieri. Spence turned back by Lettieri. Now it's Shabbat. Dakota Murmas. Short outlet pass. McEwen trying to disrupt the breakout. Pedersen unable to hold the zone. Here's Spence. Red line back in. Pexa out. Had trouble with that, but left it at the side of the net. Lettieri flipping it away. Off the glove of Spence. Following up is Hames. And played back into center. Past 9 minutes of the third, and a one-goal game here in the opening preseason matchup between these two. They'll do it again in Toronto on Tuesday night. Here comes Tkachuk. That pass for Stützle. Off a leg and back to the Ottawa line. Here's Stützle. Up for Tkachuk. Couple of months of rehab for Brady Tkachuk at the end of the playoffs. Rafai sends it in. He's been noticeable here this afternoon. Stützle winds it up again. Here's Stützle through center. Kaliev trying to move past Rafai, who breaks it up. That almost stolen by Lexell in front and knocked away by the Leafs. Pizzetta goes after it. Here's Michael Pizzetta in. His shot fired across the front of the net. Kaliev plays it out to center. Rafai bumped now to Quillen, and the Leafs invade Ottawa territory again. Sogard got bumped there. Here come the Senators. A quick shot off the glove of Pexa and cleared away.
That surprised him a little bit. I thought Yannick was going to go across the seam, maybe to Kaliev. He was kind of cheating a little bit, and he's kind of surprised him. That was a good save.
As mentioned, Joseph Woll with an illness that has kept him off the ice, and maybe the chain reaction was a chance for Pexa to get this look here in relief of Akhtiamov today. David Perron to the attack. Here's Perron looking to center. Ridley Gregg can't barge through. Cowan couldn't reach the pass. Kept in by Spitz. Shot on goal. Loose puck in front. And Gregg can't cash. What a chance for Ottawa to tie it. With Pexa down, he lost his stick. And Ottawa comes close.
Well, a bit scrambly in the Toronto end. They were cleaner in the first 2 periods, and Ottawa's kind of got a bit of rhythm going here in the offensive zone. And the missed pass there to Cowan, it comes right back to the net. You've got a collision with Pexa and his own defenseman Myers as Spence lays this to the net. Greg with the deflection, and then he can't get it from his skate to his stick and deposit it into the net.
Here's Sabrango. Plays it in behind the net. Giroux tracked by Mermis. Claude Giroux up high. Sabrango one-timer, and that hit the traffic and deflects out of play. 8:27 left here in the third period in the nation's capital. A one-goal game. 8.5 minutes left in regulation time. It's a one-goal game. Obviously early in the year, we're not going to come up with many conclusions here, but anything in particular has caught your eye?
Well, I was really interested in seeing the play of Cowan tonight and the play of Robertson. Those were 2 guys I really wanted to key on. I think Robertson's been fantastic in this game. He's played in all situations. And I think Cowan has looked pretty good too. He hasn't had the chances that Robertson has had, but you can tell when he touches the puck with his acceleration, you know, the type of year he had last year. It's no surprise. He looks pretty good in this one as well.
Tim Stützle has looked dangerous, but it's early in the year and it hasn't bounced for him. And
yeah, those seam plays that he's so good at trapping and making plays off him. He's had a couple jump over his stick. You can see some of the frustration, but that's normal early on in these preseason games. It'll eventually all fall into place.
Talk to the people in the Ottawa organization about how competitive he is. Even in the summer, he can get riled up if it's not going his way. There's Lettieri after it.
Well, you don't get to this level without caring, and Tim Stützle cares, there's no doubt about that. He's even added a bit of physicality to his game. That showed up last year. I think the good players, as I mentioned earlier, they know they have to have that part in their game to be a little physical. You don't go running people, but you got to be involved.
Unique knocks Lettieri down, who looks at the official, a little slow to get up after that hit from behind. Unique with the shot. And the rebound to the short side. Pexa got across, and now Lettieri starts back. Bumps it inside the line. Chabot turns. Here's Thomas Chabot working his way in. Shot missed the target. And dumped back out to center.
Well, Lettieri came across ice and took a run at Unique. And gave him a whack, and then his stick got caught in the back of Unique's skate eventually as he exited the ice.
Well, but Tyler Kleven has left the game.
That was an awkward fall.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he was close to the boards when he went in, so there's not a lot of time to protect yourself. And whatever took the brunt of him falling into the boards, that you could tell he felt it.
And that's the one thing you worry about during preseason. Here comes Jordan Spence. Your thoughts on Spence, who one of the key ads?
I like him. I like his calmness. I think he suits it. I think if you look at a guy like Jensen, who they don't expect to have back at the start of the season, although he has come along rather quickly with that hip surgery. From all accounts, he looks really good. He's skating with the team, just not scrimmaging. But a guy like Spence is a younger version. He kind of moves the puck well. He sees the ice well. I think he's going to be a nice addition here.
5:53 left here in the third period.
Well, Tyler Kleven has left this game. Watch him on the inside coming in. He gets caught in the middle of Spence, and he goes into the boards awkwardly. At first, I thought maybe it was his back ankle that hit the boards, but the trainers were having a look at his right shoulder. And when you go down awkwardly like that, there's a number of things that can go wrong, and you could strain. And right there, it looks like something in that right shoulder is not quite right. And this is when you don't fool around with things like that. You get them off the ice, you get treatment started right away with the trainers, and hopefully it's just something minor.
Here's Drake Batherson sending it ahead. Ridley Gregg's on the move. Can't get past Rafai. Here's Thomas Chabot, a shot, and that deflected in front off target. Shabbat looking forward to a game in Quebec City. Ottawa, Montreal on September the 30th will play in his hometown. That's knocked down by Easton Cowan. Here come the Leafs. Cowan over the line. Quick shot by Grew off the glove of Sogard.
Great hand-eye coordination by Easton Cowan in the neutral zone. Knocks that down, creates a chance.
And now Stutzla knocked down as he crossed the line, drawing a penalty that gives Ottawa another power play with 5:06 to go.
Well, so much speed, and he's got a great set of hands. And when you put speed and skill sets that Timmy Stutzla has, he draws attention, and everyone comes in, and it's the right skate that kind of clips his skate. I don't think he trips him. I think it's just an accidental. The two skates kind of collided. It might have looked a lot worse than that when you looked into the pile of people, like a stick or something got in there. I think it was just unfortunate that the skate clipped his skate, and he went down, and Thrun will pay the price for that. He'll sit in the box for 2 minutes or less as the Senators try to tie this thing up with 5:06 to go.
Thrun was even sure he was the guy.
I don't think he was. I don't think he was the guy at all. The collision was more with Barbolini. I don't think it was him, but like I said, you're in a pile there. Sometimes your number comes out of it.
Stutzla drew 38 penalties last year, and now the power play for Ottawa, and a chance, and a big shot blocked by Rafai, who makes another terrific play on what's been a good afternoon for 83 in front for Batherson, and Pexa gets on the puck.
Well, I would agree with you. I mean, when you look at his body of work in this game, he's done everything that you'd love to see if you're Greg Berube. He got involved physically with a tussle with McEwen, blocking shots, throwing hits, and you know, that's his game. That's what he does. When he's on his game, he does that best. And for Timmy Stutzla, I think just waited a bit too long. That had to go off right away. And good job coming across and getting that block in place.
Through against Tkachuk on this draw, and from the face-off, it goes to Rafai, and he'll fire that down the ice. 4.5 to go. Ottawa looking for the equalizer. Shabbat kicks it back. Stutzla goes to work. Over the line with Tkachuk. Here's Brady Tkachuk in, and Pexa has that. Tkachuk crashing into the side of the net and getting worked over.
So oftentimes when you enter the zone and you're getting deep into the zone, as Stutzla uses Tkachuk to get in, so often, you know, guys want to get in, get set up. You don't take it to the net right away, and sometimes the goaltender is just getting a bit lazy on it, so Tkachuk says, no, I'm going to fire this thing. And why not? You get a face-off in the zone and go from there, but oftentimes you're more interested in just setting it up and not really expecting to go right to the net with it.
Brady with goals in games 2, 3, 5, and 6 of that opening round series last year. It'll come back to Lassie Thompson. Claude Giroux at the right point. Works his way in. That goes off Mermis. Into the corner, Perron. Back for Giroux. Looking in front. And it stayed out. Looked like Giroux may have just hit the side of the cage. Has it again. Gets it back from Perron. Ottawa comes close. Threatening to tie. David Perron, Claude Giroux in front, Callahan turned away by Pexa, and the Leafs clear. Off the stick of Yardencroke. Under a half minute left in the Ottawa power play. Thompson hands it off to the veteran, David Perron. A couple of 19-year vets on the ice for Ottawa in Giroux and Perron. Now Pettersson tried a back pass, broken up, and Heems able to clear. Played back into the Ottawa zone. Front getting set to return. Jordan Spence looks up ice. Sabrango turns it back. Run back out. The Leafs return to full strength. Zach McEwen over the line with Pettersson. Myers closed down on him. And now Rafai dumps it down the ice. It's going to be icing Toronto.
A couple of good chances on that power play for Ottawa to tie this game up. They got 35 shots on net in this one, and you're going to look at Berksa come around here on the back, and I don't know if it goes off his left skate, and then it just doesn't give Giroux a chance to find the net, and then down and across and off the right shoulder from Kaliev. I mean, really good opportunities, and Pexa doing a nice job holding his ground.
So empty net, Sogard to the bench. Extra attacker comes on for Ottawa. With 2:50 to go, they control the draw. Across for Thompson. In behind the net, Tkachuk. Around the horn, Shabbat. Gets it back, fires and missed the target. Thompson moves up. He's tied up. Puck along the boards. And flipped into the air. Stutzla trying to track it. Leafs got it out. It's knocked back in. And that's offside Ottawa.
Well, 2:50 to go, and the Senators are saying the Leafs knocked it back into the zone, and it should not have been offside. As we're going to go to break.
So down the wire we go. 2:24 remaining. And playoff matchups, those still to be decided. An AL East matchup on Tuesday. The Red Sox and the Blue Jays. And our coverage begins 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. There's Mark Giordano behind the bench. He'll be helping the Marlies blue line, which has caught your eye today. Wearing the big club's jerseys, but most of this blue line will be playing in the American Hockey League to start the season.
And what a plethora of knowledge he is going to offer these guys. What a stalwart defenseman he was in the National Hockey League for a very, very long time. A really good guy, and I think they're going to really be fortunate to have a guy like that around them on a daily basis.
Block shot totals should improve. Sogard leaves the net as the puck's fired in. Murmas, who played over 20 minutes in the game to lead that blue line. Here's a pass back to Spence, checks his stick, and he'll have to go back to get it. 100 seconds remaining in regulation time. A shoulder check by Grew. Myers a chance to clear. Up ahead, and Quillen able to backhand it out over Lexell. Here's Jordan Spence. Kicking it back. It'll be Stutzla. After Giroux on the near side, unable to come up with that, and the Leafs able to clear once again. Spence backpedals. Haynes tracking, but Ottawa able to move it in. Here's Giroux in the final minute. Stutzla trying to center, denied by Rafai. Giroux back to the line, 6-on-5. Shabbat to the veteran Giroux and back. Low Giroux, Kaliev parked in the slot. Spence has got it on the outside, gets it back again. Gives it to Stutzla. Down low, Tkachuk in the slot, and that shot went wide. Great setup there for the Senators. It'll come back to Spence. Shabbat. Stutzla. That one pinballs in front. Tkachuk a whack at it, packs it down. Couldn't reach it. And the Leafs don't clear. Kept in by Shabbat. Here's Thomas Shabbat. Pex has lost his stick. Out in front. Grew backhands it away. And now the blocker's off and play is called. Pexa without a blocker, without a stick.
It was a yard sale there. It was a yard sale at the net. Everything came off at once. And then the dump out, which I thought was going to end this game, hit Shabbat in the hand, which stung him pretty good. I think he's going to change. This hit him right in the wrist or the hand on the dump out. Thompson will come on for him with 7 seconds to go. And then the referee realizing that the blocker was on the ice and cut the play.
So Pexa loses his blocker early in the game. We saw Diabov without the catching glove. And trying to hold down the fort here for 7 seconds to post a preseason win on the road. And the Senators call timeout.
Well, 7 seconds, or 8.5 now. They've added a second and a half onto the clock. Plenty of time to create a play and find the back of the net. Of course, you got to have the one draw. You don't win the draw, that pretty much would kill this thing off. I mentioned the young defense for Toronto. I think has done a pretty good job this afternoon in this one. And for Ottawa, I think the third period they've kind of played their best period here in the third. They've put a lot of pressure on the Toronto Maple Leafs in their end.
Daniel Alfredson drawing it up. Bo Giroux 11-3, Gary, in the face-off circle, which won't surprise anybody.
Well, you know, and that's the thing too, right? I mean, I don't know who's going to take this. I would think it's going to be Camp or Yarncroke, but he's kind of owned everybody he's been against. But it's going to be Tkachuk taking it, and he is really strong on this side as well.
David Camp 7-7 in the face-off circle. So it's going to be Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle without a shot on goal in the game, as prominent as he has appeared. He'll try and win a draw to get him a chance to change that. And Camp and Tkachuk walking horns here on a key draw, and it is won by Tkachuk, but knocked out by Yarncroke, and that's going to do it, as the Leafs will hold on to a 4-3 preseason victory here in the nation's capital.
Well, nice job on the draw. Yarncroke, not, you know, he kind of lost it clean, but coming right through the pile. And that's what you got to do. You got to come through that pile quickly if you're that inside winger and get to that puck, and that got cleaned out of harm's way. And I think a really good start to this game for Toronto. Really good through the first two periods. Like I said, Ottawa came on a bit in the third. But at the end of the day, 4-3 win for the Maple Leafs, and both these teams have got their preseason schedules underway.
As we said, the Leafs sent a crew that did not have anybody in the lineup guaranteed of an opening night job, but they are able to deliver a victory against the provincial rivals here. The strength of 3 in the opening period. Goals by Yarncroke, Robertson, and Villeneuve got them started. Barbolini ends up with the eventual game winner. Greg Kaliev and Lixell with the goals for the Senators. These two teams will meet again in Toronto on Tuesday. Off and running in the preseason. Glad you're along as we bid you so long from the nation's capital.